yeah, like, I don't think we ever got pigeoned as nerds, did we?
Which would have been fine. I don't feel like people had like negative content. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess nerdy can come off as like, that's the nerdy group. We don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
It was more like, they're smart. They're not going to. Actually, it was almost opposite. I felt like it was more like they probably won't want to be involved in some of the stuff we do.
I was going to say, we're more goody two-shoes,
Yeah.
I think.
You know,
Like, and we did.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's why we kind of got insulated from a lot of stuff like drug use and alcohol use, because I think they just assumed we wouldn't. And
they were
because we wouldn't. We would have been like scared.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Bloom Era. Join Marie, Michelle, Vita, and Michelle, 4 lifelong friends, on our journey through perimenopause. We'll share our stories, insights, and laughter as we embrace this new stage of womanhood. Let's bloom together. Why am I so nervous?
You said that loud. Well, welcome to the Bloom Era.
I love it. We are going to do kind of a different episode than we normally do. It's been a different week than it's normally been. Part of why we started this podcast is because we have been friends since Apollo Middle School and since we were 12 years old. And that included going to high school together. And we went to Antioch High School. And that is a school that has been in the news this week because there was another school shooting. And so, we've all been in various levels of feelings about this. And so we just kind of wanted to share just our thoughts on seeing our school literally on the news for this reason. And I don't know, maybe just kind of talk about what we felt like Antioch was, because, and Michelle said this in the pre-talk about this, that we really had I think a really special time in high school. I don't know why it was so good, really, but I mean, maybe we could talk about that, which is interesting because Antioch, even before this week, has never had like a great quote unquote reputation that a lot of people have different opinions on whether it deserved it or not, but I felt like we had a really, really great high school experience. So anyways, like I said, our school, our alma mater, is that how you say it, was in the news this week because of a school shooting. And so we're seeing images of literally where we spent ages 14 to 18, 13 to 18, I don't know.
14.
Yeah, 14. Okay. And so how did you guys feel when, like, we immediately group chatted with us and Trina?
Yeah.
What did y'all think when you heard the news?
Yeah. I mean, I was telling you guys, like, I cried all day Thursday. Like, it felt like seeing pictures of your home, like an attack on your home, and just like how safe we felt there and what a special place it was. And seeing it like that was really emotional. And it was really hard for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, because of the kids or not, but the fact that it was close to home, like where I'm at now, and the fact that my kids are in school, it just brought to the fact that, my kids are in public school. This could have happened there. And in knowing that I was once in those halls, they're in the halls they're in now. So kind of that tie to my kids is what, again, I was brought to.
Yeah, I think I was kind of shocked and surprised. Like you said, I mean, maybe some people are like, oh, Antioch, that's expected. But like what y'all are saying, like when we went to Antioch, I felt pretty safe. And it was like a happy place for me. So it's almost like, I don't know if I just haven't emotionally processed it like Michelle, because to me, it just doesn't seem like it's just a disconnect, I guess. It's like just a news story. Yeah. And maybe I haven't really connected it to being real because, like I said, you don't ever think that it could happen to something to your school or, when tragedies happen, you always think that's happening to someone else.
Right. And I think we're confronted with so many tragedies all the time, so many school shootings, that if you don't disconnect a little bit, like we're not meant to have this type of news all the time. So it's very hard for you to like take everyone so personally and seriously. But yeah, this one hit. Like, it was hard for me.
I think, I saw the news on Facebook and whatnot. And at first, I'll be honest, like, I thought it wasn't that kind of school shooting. I thought
it's like
a fight gotten out of control. Okay. Like, so I immediately was kind of, I don't know what you call it. Like, you kind of like defense mechanism, like, oh, it wasn't that kind of.
It wasn't random.
Like
it wasn't. Yeah, I thought, oh, somebody got into a fight with a boyfriend or girlfriend. That situation. And not that that's better or in any way different, but it just felt Like what what you said in the pre-talk, like Sean says, Antioch's where you kind of go looking for trouble. Like
Yeah.
random stuff doesn't just happen. Like you're walking down the street. So then when I found out it was that random, in my opinion, like more terrifying school shooting, that felt like it changed something. And then when I found out that it was in the cafeteria, I don't know, because it was just like, oh, I know the cafeteria. Like there was no question about how I felt
You can
in the
picture the
cafeteria.
layout.
Yeah, and that just kind of felt weird. So I was telling Mark, I said, I think it feels like the Fortnite game. You know how like the circle, do y'all play Fortnite? No.
I know
Yeah.
enough about it. Yeah.
So like you get dropped into the gameplay and the circle keeps getting smaller and smaller. So anyway, and then like it just feels like the circle of the idea of like a school shooting just got really small this week. Like it can literally happen anywhere. It just feels disconcerting.
Yeah.
So.
And we just had another school shooting a couple years ago in Nashville too. So it's
Yeah. Covenant was very that
yeah,
one
when they're babies, when they're younger,
it feels
a whole different. And when it's not a current student, it hits different too. But yeah, and we don't have the answers or anything for that. But I think it just made us really nostalgic for what our experience was. And I think part of the reason we're still friends now is because of this experience we had. So we just want to talk a little bit about what made Antioch so special to us.
Yeah.
I think it's important for me. Right. I guess we're kind of talking about what should we talk about, and I think this is tragic and all that, but sometimes it's kind of like, well, how can we be a little bit of a bright spot? I guess. So just kind of highlighting some good experiences at Antioch. But yeah, I met you guys. I guess I met you guys before Antioch, but our friendship kind of developed there.
Yeah.
So honestly, like I said, it was like I had a unique home life so you guys exposed me to a lot of I don't think I would have gone to like college or university had I not been at Antioch and found the friends that I met at Antioch. So, I mean, I think it totally kind of changed my pathway.
We peer pressured each other into
To being
excellence.
better.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
It's such a good thing.
It
And that's
is.
like something I tell my 13-year-old to look for. And that's what she's done too. Like she had, her friend made her do this youth and government club. And now, she gets to go to the Capitol and present a bill. Like there is that type of finding the right friends.
Yes.
Which can be hard. And I don't know why it wasn't hard for us. Like we just found each other and found it wasn't just the four of us or the five with Trina. We had a big group of like-minded, just amazing people we went to school with. So
everyone was kind of driven to do well and to be good.
yeah.
Yes. I was going to say, we were actually surrounded by a lot of kindness, which may not have been normal for a lot of folks in their high school experience, but I think we almost railed against folks who were mean. Yeah. We were mean girl haters. You guys remember that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
You see the movies, and you've got the cliques, and then the cliques are, mean to the other cliques. I thought we had cliques, you had your tables where people sat with their groups. Yeah. And I may be naive, but I don't remember seeing just flat out all the time bullying, or I can't name the Antioch bully.
No, I couldn't. Which makes me feel like we probably were somehow privileged and put away from it. Maybe that was happening.
People definitely had bad
sure somebody had
experiences. And there was definitely mean people and people who didn't find their people.
But I feel like the general culture of Antioch High School, which I guess has always kind of been what makes me mad when I hear people talk about Antioch in general, is they're just a bunch of, I don't even know what.
Yeah, they think it's
it was violent,
and gangs. Yeah, and I think in your freshman year when the class is big and just coming out of, I don't know, this is going to sound horrible. It's a lot of those kids kind of drop out, I feel like. So it's it doesn't sustain culturally through your entire.
I think part of it too with Antioch having, we had the honors classes and you had the standard classes.
I think we were
a little insulated because most of the people that you think would be in those are probably not taking honors classes as well.
Right.
And, when you take those classes, your schedule's kind of made up for you because there's only one or two of those classes. So you only seeing those same people over and over again.
That's unique to Antioch, though.
I don't think it is.
That's every school where it gets a little
there may have been stuff that we didn't see about being insulated in those honors classes. But
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff we didn't see.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess we're only speaking on our experience.
So one thing I heard them talking about in the news, they said now, and it was the case when we went there too, that there was no, it was a majority minority school. There was no racial majority. And that was the case 20 years ago too.
Yeah.
And it's still the case. And they said now there's over, I think, 41 languages spoken.
It's crazy.
And it was probably maybe not 41, but it was definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm pulling this out of a hat, but we did the International Day every year. And I remember thinking at one, or not thinking, but hearing at one of those international days, they had 33 languages represented.
Okay. And that was 20 years
But
ago.
I think
so.
the French class did one of the booths, so that was representing French. So I'm not sure. But 33 languages were represented at that festival thing that they did.
Yeah.
So I think, and I've been around people who have not had that background of being around diverse people from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, you know,
Family makeups, like all the
everything. And I think that was such a blessing that we just all took for granted. Like we really kind of thought the world looked like that until
like I
went other places, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, you two went to like predominantly
white
colleges.
Yeah. Yes.
How'd that feel different?
I mean, I definitely felt out of place. I mean, it was kind of depressing, I guess, my first few years there. I don't know if I ever felt like super comfortable, because not only was it predominantly white, it was predominantly like super wealthy.
Yeah.
And
like,
I'm just like,
Yeah, I would say ours was also predominantly white.
Yeah,
it was
I realized like wait,
Cookville, Tennessee.
it wasn't exactly.
but you have a level of wealth.
Socioeconomic,
Too.
yeah,
It's different. Like, I mean, I was used to hanging out with middle class white folks.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't experience. I think that, and then for my college, it was the same. Like I just hung out with like the honors kids, and they were all there on scholarship too. I mean, it was all white, and then you would hear things that you're like, no, you really shouldn't say that, and they were like, why? And I'm like, come on, guys. But it wasn't until I went to law school where I was around that level of wealth where you're like, oh, no, my family does not have a boathouse.
yes, you have maids. Like,
But yeah, it is like you
It's
don't.
shocking.
So I guess like I was saying, like, oh yeah, we're used to that, but there were other things we weren't used to as well. But
I appreciate the International Day. I, like you said, it's like not even just because I was, I got to participate in the yearbook. There's a photo of me and some friends on our senior yearbook. You can show that.
Yes, I will. I 100% will.
Not just that, but because I got to learn about other cultures too. Just because I'm from a different culture doesn't mean I'm not interested in other cultures.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. I do think it's a part of the education and the learning experience. And with my kids nowadays, I mean, we're in Williamson County because it's a good school district and all that. But one of the educational pieces that it is lacking is that kind of like world education of like, there are different people out there, different types of food, different languages, different cultures, different ways of thinking that I don't think that they're being exposed to. And I feel like that's something that is lacking in their education. But I don't know how to marry that with like,
you guys are
where do I go to get this like full kind of education?
You could get them the Lao side, but you can't, and even the Vietnamese side, but you can't get them the Hispanic.
Yeah, I mean, you want them. I want them to like be comfortable and to be aware of all the different kind of cultures out there.
And I mean, I loved it because it wasn't even like it felt like Sesame Street. Antioch High School felt like Sesame Street because it was like you had all these different people, like you had different people at different stages of the immigrant experience, right? Like you had second generation, you had first generation, we literally just got here, we're refugees. Like, I mean, so it wasn't even just like, oh, I'm Indian American. It was like you were various levels of that experience. So, and all of it, just because of the exposure, never made anybody feel scary. Like,
no,
once we entered the real world, it was like, a new idea or a new experience didn't feel frightening or threatening because it was like, yeah, of course I've been exposed to some level of something that I never would have in my own neighborhood or whatever. And so, it's
do you guys have our video from our graduation?
I still have it, but it's a VHS, so I don't know.
We don't know how to play it.
I'm 100% positive that's what I gave my graduation speech on.
Oh,
but I don't remember what it was.
Do you have it written down somewhere? And then you
probably
kept
on like a probably somewhere.
Yeah.
Y'all know the save icon that started. But yeah, I mean, like, we were exposed to, and it was organic. It wasn't like a curriculum that said you guys need to learn about this or you need to like. It was very, so even if another school tried to like, oh, these are the different. You can't mimic what we had. I think we had something really and like. Even like the socioeconomic, like I feel like our side of the, so we came from the Apollo Middle School feeder, right? So we were the poor side of that feed. And then you had the kids coming from
Overton.
Priest Lake.
the Priest Lake area, like, no offense, but y'all know who you are.
Y'all rich Antioch kids.
You had the ones that had houses next to Priest Lake and all that stuff. And so, like, you knew when you went to their house, like, this ain't Richard's Road. And so like, it was just such a, and it was like we could see that we could get along and that we were all humans. I don't know. It just like really, it was beautiful.
No, and I think that diversity and just thought, and we've never expected everybody to be the same or to celebrate the same holidays or to have our families look the same. And I think that's like part of the reason why we're still able to be friends too.
Yeah.
We don't need to do it everything together, everything the same way. Like we just appreciate what's different about each other.
There's so much flexibility. I mean, I'll take a picture of like Shelly's scrapbook. I'm gonna put it up here real quick just so y'all know what I'm talking about.
It's raggedy because it's old.
Is that from like senior year or all throughout?
Like it's got senior year on it, so I probably made it during senior year. Because I guess when we were in yearbook class, we got to go around taking pictures a lot, so I had lots of pictures. So.
But it's like, I mean, you can just visually look at that and see that there's so many different people that we interacted with and were friends with, like genuinely cared about each other. And I feel like, they try to recreate this in like a Disney musical, I think especially looking back, I'm like, we were gorgeous.
Yeah.
We look like we could have been like completely cast. Like
I think we look the same, Marie.
we do look the same. Like we look like the older versions of them, but I'm like, we could have been a Disney freaking movie, in my opinion. Like you take a picture of that and Disney's like, how do we hire all of them?
Yeah.
Because that would be the perfect high school that we want to create in this movie about everybody's loved and everybody's diverse and everybody's it was like we had that. And cool.
We did, but that doesn't mean like people. You definitely. I mean, I think we all felt lonely or left out.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
we all had that. People had it more than others, but like, and we didn't get along all 4 years of high school. Like it wasn't like a fairy tale.
No.
But I think it was real, and it really set us up well.
Yeah,
for the rest of our life. Yeah,
for real life. I don't think. No relationship's perfect in real life. And like you said, I think that the ups and downs kind of really happened and we got through them. And I think it was great. But like what you were saying, like just being aware of other people. And I feel like people were open to sharing.
So I like
everybody was like, how about, we'd go, I think I probably had dinner at all your houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's kind of when you're like, oh, this is how
this world is.
Yeah. And then everybody else is like, or whether it be church or religion or whatever, everybody was kind of like sharing with each other.
They really were.
Yeah.
And I remember because there was certain cultures were more represented than others. And I remember some that weren't as well represented. Like they would really share like, oh, here's my religion. Here's and I remember being super fascinated by it. Like,
and it never felt fearful. And of course I'm not in those positions, but I don't feel like anybody felt like, oh, I should be ashamed or hide this part.
I think we were interested. Yeah. We're like, oh yeah.
I think that interest too, has continued on. Like I think it's fueled our interest for learning things in general.
Yeah.
You know what I think we did not do as well at is sharing food.
Because none of us could cook.
No, but I am like,
moms.
I mean, we would get like lumpia from your mom and all that, but it wasn't until I'm like, there was a lot of good Southeast Asian food I should have been eating in high school, but I did not.
Oh, right. Like pho.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but there were some groups, some pockets of kids that were white that loved all that food, and they were exposed to it, and they were welcomed in people's homes.
Oh, yeah.
I would go to Amy's house sometimes, and
it was available to you if you wanted it.
Yeah, that was my fault. That was my fault.
Well, and just there, it's on the other side too. I distinctly remember eating sausage balls for the first time at your house, and I am still in love with that memory and with that cultural exchange.
You still make them every Christmas.
I know. I'm like, anytime we know we're having a snow day or something, I'm like, sausage balls, people. Like, this is
that's funny.
You guys don't know what that is. It's like a Southern. It's just like sausage, Bisquick, and cheddar cheese.
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's delicious. But yeah, I mean, the cultural exchanges were neat on all the different ways.
And another unique part of it, like you said, there were groups though. It wasn't like we were like, oh, but you can't be like, you can have your own clique.
Yeah.
And that was fine. It was just
there were it felt like the movies. Like there were the skater kids with the big Jinko jeans and clearly in that thing,
and they had their table.
That
was their table. Same table every day.
And there were the jocks and the cheerleaders. Like Friday, everybody's dressed up in whatever thing they're going to wear that night. And I mean,
popular kids. whatever we were. I called us the smart kids. We were
Yeah,
probably just the nerds.
brain kid. Yeah.
No, we were the smart kids.
Yeah, because I don't know if the folks would have called us nerdy. Because I think we were all like,
popular group adjacent almost. I think because some people,
I was a nerd.
well, I'm saying some people were able to be in the smart kid group and the nerd group at the same
Yeah.
time. I would not say I was
the
one of
Venn
them,
diagrams that we
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes.
like Rachel Darby is a good example of a solidly middle Venn diagram person. So, and then you were close to Rachel Darby, and then I'm like blasting her last name out. I'm not gonna bleep it out because I don't know how. But yeah, like I don't think we ever got pigeoned as nerds, did we?
Which would have been
No.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't feel like people had like negative content. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I guess nerdy can come off as like, that's the nerdy group. We don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
It was more like, they're smart. They're not going to. Actually, it was almost opposite. I felt like it was more like, they probably won't want to be involved in some of the stuff we do.
I was gonna say we're more goody two shoes.
Yeah.
I think.
You know,
Like, and we did.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's why we kind of got insulated from a lot of stuff like drug use and
Yeah.
alcohol use, because I think they just assumed we wouldn't,
And they were
because
correct.
we wouldn't. We would be like scared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys said y'all went to a party or something, and
Yes, it was
came
so
out.
embarrassing. I think we all, I don't know, it was like 4 girls. I don't know who else was with us.
I don't think I was there.
Are you sure?
I'm
I'm
very
almost
sure I
positive you were.
wasn't there.
No,
We all
like,
huddled in one
then we
like
just
love
left.
seat or
And
something.
Michelle's the only one I remember being
Yeah.
here with me.
I was there because
Okay.
I
I'm
remember.
positive you were too. And then we just left.
I
Like,
walked in.
Yeah, we
it was like high school graduation.
Yeah, it was like
so
we walked around this house while party was happening, and then we just kept walking
we're
and we
like,
left.
never mind, let's leave.
Yeah, we were like
We were just-
observed.
Yeah.
I remember we sat down in a lazy boy, like all 4 of us like scared together, looking around and being like, people are kissing, people are like drinking, and then
I
we
don't
kind of like
think that-
scuttled
oh.
away. And then we left. Like we were like all looked at each other and was like, okay, I don't think
Yeah.
this is for us.
It's so funny. Like I'll see people talk about memories of high school, and they'll bring up like alcohol or drugs, and I'm like, and I will so genuinely be like, oh, we didn't do that at Antioch. Like,
Yeah.
I mean it for the entire school. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, we don't have.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
There's plenty of alcohol and drugs.
I
Yeah,
remember
it's not with
working-
us.
At Sonic, and the other kids I worked with, they were in other classes. We didn't really know each other or anything like that. And I brought up that I didn't know what weed smelled like or looked like, because I think I was doing coffee grounds and made a joke about like it looked like weed, and they were like, that's not what weed looks like. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, he was a cook, and he was like, you don't know what you went to Antioch, you were at Antioch, or you were there. He's like, you don't know it. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't think Antioch had any drugs. Like,
Yeah.
he was like, no.
I don't think I was at it because it was definitely like sold on my bus. Like I was like a
I
concert of
see
people.
recognized it at all. And so they were like, no. And he was laughing because he was like, well, I sold it to a lot of the kids in your class. Like, he was very like, nope, you're wrong. And I was like, oh, he was like, I bet you handed a lot of them. He was like, you seem like the prime person to hand stuff on. Like, to be like,
Here's this envelope of cash. Okay. Here's this bag. Can you hand this bag back to
He
Okay.
was like, I feel like you knew a lot more drug dealers than you realized.
You did.
But yeah. And so, I mean, I still like just feel like recently I found out what it smelled like. Like I was not very,
out.
but yeah, like I think we're very innocent. But so I always get a little bristled when people talk about like Antioch is completely bad and so dangerous. And I feel so bad for those
And
kids.
it's like people who just moved here from California
Yes.
and they're like, oh, I couldn't live in Antioch. I'm like, have you been there? Like, I grew up there. And they're like, haha. I'm like, no, I did. Like, actually, people laugh when I tell them I grew up there. Like,
Yeah.
well, I get so mad.
yeah.
It kind of goes back to what we were saying. Like, Antioch is a place where you kind of have to go look for it. Like, somebody's not, like, people aren't just, like, shooting you in the arm with drugs and, like, we didn't see it because we weren't looking for it.
Yeah. And you can get trouble in anywhere. Like, you can find.
Like all these now that with more perspective, I'm like all these rich kid schools got cocaine. Like they just got
Yeah.
drugs.
Yes.
more dangerous drugs.
Dangerous, yeah. Like I'm like
pills and stuff.
mhm. Anyway, so we just want to give all of our Antioch
Yes.
community just a big hug right now.
Yeah.
And all the kids, and so like I still live there. So like, and that probably got me a little verklempt too, because I was like, oh, all those kids that I see waiting for the bus.
I
I know you
kids,
homeschool,
like,
but is that the school your kids would be zoned?
oh yeah. So yeah, like all our neighborhood kids like go to Antioch High School. Like I'll
Mhm.
see their graduation signs and things like that. And but yeah, we just want to give the whole community a big hug
You're
and like
special.
yeah,
We love you.
Yeah,
and we're
exactly. We
proud of
love
you.
you.
and it's a good place and